So there is a set comprising of 300 numbers, 1, 2, 3 up to 300, and I want to create subsets. 3 element subsets is what I want to create. A, B, C, where A, B, C are chosen from the set A, S. A, B, C are chosen from the set S. In a manner that A plus B plus C is divisible by 3, such that A plus B plus C is divisible by 3. This is what I want to be able to do, right? Okay, what I do is I categorize these numbers. You know, these are the numbers, I categorize them. There are numbers that are multiples of 3 in the set. There are numbers that are multiples of 3 plus 1, for example 1, 4, 7, right? These are multiples of 3 plus 1. And then there are numbers like multiples of 3 plus 2, for example 2, 5, 8. These are multiples of 3 plus 2, right? Essentially all numbers could be looked upon as multiples of 3 plus 1 and multiples of 3 plus 2, right? And in a 300 number set, they are equal in numbers. 3k, 3k plus 1 and 3k plus 2 are equally distributed, uniformly and equally distributed in the set. That means, you know, numbers of the type 3k, multiples of 3. What are these? 3, 6, 9, 300, right? Multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 300. How many are these? These are 100 in numbers, right? Then there are numbers of the type 3k plus 1, right? One more than a multiple of 3. These numbers are 1, 4, 7, 298. These are also 100 in numbers. Yes or no? Right? These are also 100 in numbers. 147, 298. These are multiples of 3 plus 1. Right? And then there are numbers of the type 3k plus 2. 3k plus 2, which are really 2, 5, 8, going this way up to 299. 299 is 3 into 99 plus 2. 3 into 99 plus 2. So 3k plus 2. These are also 100 in numbers, right? So these are also 100 in numbers. Now, I want to create this subset ABC such that A plus B plus C is divisible by 3. 3 element subsets I want to create. What I could do is, 1, I could select 3 numbers from this set, right? I could select 3 numbers ABC from this set and they will add up to a multiple of 3. Now there are 100 numbers. In how many ways can I select 3 numbers from the set? 100C3. 100C3. Okay. If there are 3 numbers of the type 3k plus 1, and if you add them, then it will be they will add up to a multiple of 3, isn't it? 3k plus 1, one number, 3k plus 1, another number, 3k plus 1, another number, 1 plus 1 plus 1 would add up to a multiple of 3. So if I chose 3 numbers from this set also, they would add up to a multiple of 3. Multiple of 3, right? So again, I can do that in 100C3 ways, right? And then 3k plus 2. If there are 3 numbers of the type 3k plus 2, when you add them, that will also be a multiple of 3. That means I can select 3 numbers from this set, and that's going to be 100 C3. That's one way, right? So either 3 from this, or 3 from this, or 3 from this. That's one way to get a multiple of 3, right? Or if you select one number of the type 3k, one number of the type 3k plus 1, and one number of the type 3k plus 2, then also a plus b plus c would be a multiple of 3. Yes or no? And one number from this set can be selected in 100 ways. And then I want to select one number from this set, that also in 100 ways. And then one number from this set, that is also in 100 ways. 100 cube, therefore. So this would be the required count. This would be the number of ways. This would be the number of ways, small n, in which I could select a 3-element subset from S such that a plus b plus c is a multiple of 3. Now, whatever this turns out to be, you need to do the count and carry out. Yes or no? So there is a set of 20 consecutive numbers, 1, 2, 3, 20. And I want to select a 3-element subset from this, A, B, C, such that the product of these numbers is a multiple of 4. Product of these numbers is a multiple of 4. This is what we want to do, right? Right, Aritru? Now, what I do is, as you would have realized with a little bit of experience, that it would be best to find the complement of this set. Let me find 3 numbers, A1, B1, C1, such that the product is not a multiple of 4. Then from the total, I'll remove this count to get this count. First of all, if there are no conditions, what's the total number of ways I can select 3 numbers? 20C3, right? Total number of ways are 20C3. Now, instead of doing this count, let me carry out this count. Let me select 3 numbers A1, B1, C1 such that the product is not a multiple of 4. Product is not a multiple of 4. Let me do this. Clear now? Now, so I'm seeking to select A1, B1 and C1 so that the product is not a multiple of 4. Now, in this given set S, do you realize there are 10 even numbers and there are 10 odd numbers? Yes or no? There are 10 even numbers and 10 odd numbers. Now, amongst these 10 numbers, 5 are of the form 4k, isn't it? Because only alternate numbers are even numbers are multiples of 4, isn't it? If you are given 10 even numbers, not every even number will be a multiple of 4. If the first number is not a multiple of 4, the next even number will be a multiple of 4. Yes or no? No? Isn't it? So out of 10 consecutive even numbers, these are 10 consecutive even numbers, there are 5 that are multiples of 4 and 5 that are not multiples of 4. Right? Okay. Now, I want the product to be not divisible by 4. One way to do that is by selecting A1, B1, C1 as odd numbers. If they are all odd, then the product will be odd and will not be a multiple of 4. Yes or no? Now, there are 10 odd numbers and I select 3 odd numbers from this. There are 10 odd numbers and I select 3 odd numbers from this. And this count I can do in 10C3 ways. Right? That's one way. Or the second way I can carry out a count is I can select 2 odd and 1 which is not a multiple of 4 but a multiple of 2. 1 even but not a multiple of 4. Yes or no? So I select, say, 2 numbers, 2 odd numbers. I select. And in how many ways can I select 2 odd numbers? 10C2 ways. And 1 number which is a even number but not a multiple of 4. One even number which is not a multiple of 4. 5 ways. even number not of the form 4k. So one even number which is not of the form 5k, 4k. There are 5 numbers of this kind. Yes or no? So selecting 2 odd numbers and 1 even number not a multiple of 4 will give me a product which is not a multiple of 4. That is all that I can do. So then this or this, that's a complement of the count, right? So the complement of the required count is 10C3 plus 5 into 10C2. This is the count that I don't need. So from the total I remove this count. The total count of selecting 3 numbers is this minus this will give me the count of selecting 3 numbers A, B and C such that product will be a multiple of 4. Now whatever this turns out to be. If you've done the calculations. 795? Okay, this turns out to be 795. Now, n is a natural number and we want to be able to show that 4n factorial is a multiple of 2 to the power 3n into 3 to the power n. Okay. One, of course, one could do it using inductive approach, mathematical induction and other ways of doing it. But let's do it using combinatorics. Right? Let's do it using combinatorics. How? Suppose there are 4n objects or elements. 4n objects or elements. Right? Four of the type x1, 4 of the type x2, identical, and so on and so forth, and 4 alike and of the type xn. Right? You know what I'm saying? There are 4n numbers in all, 4n elements or objects in which 4 are alike and of one kind, 4 are alike and of a second kind, 4 are alike and of a third kind, 4 are alike and of a fourth kind, and 4 are alike and of a nth kind. That will make it 4n in all, but not all different, not all different. Right? They're not all different. Now, the number of permutations of 4n things taken all at a time in which 4 are alike and of one kind, 4 are alike and of a second kind, 4 are alike and of a third kind, 4 are alike and of a nth kind. That count, that permutation is going to be given by 4n factorial divided by 4 factorial into 4 factorial into 4 factorial. How many times? N times. 4 factorial to power n. This will be 4 factorial to power n. So then this is, and this is like 4n factorial divided by 4 factorial whole to power n. 4 factorial whole to power n. This is 4 factorial whole to power n means 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 factorial whole to power n. Yes or no? Which is like 4n factorial divided by, this is 2 to power 3 whole to power n, 2 to power 3n into 3 to power n. Hey, this has to be an integer, yes or no? This count has to be an integer. That means 4n factorial must be perfectly divisible by this. If it has to be an integer, that means 4n factorial must be perfectly divisible by this. That means 4n factorial must be a multiple of this. That means 4n factorial must be a multiple of this. How about it? Right? So now there is a set A1, A2, A3, A11, A12. These are the subscripts. I want to create subsets of this set in a very specific manner. I want to create subsets of this set in a very specific manner. Say for example, an acceptable subset could have been A3, A6, A9, A12 could have been acceptables, where the subscripts are multiples of the smallest subscript. All of the subscripts are multiples of the smallest subscript. It could have been like this, or it could have been, say, simply A3, or it could simply have been, say, A3, A9. It could have been A6, A12, and so on and so forth. All possibilities. A subset is created in a manner. Say if this is a subset that I am creating, say AR, then say this must be a multiple of R. All other elements must be, say, K1R, A, K2R, and so on and so forth. You realize that? All other subscripts should be integral multiples of R. Integral multiples of the smallest subscript. And all other subscripts. This is how we want to create subsets. Right? Now, the problem is per se not as difficult as it prima facie looks like, as long as you are mentally sorted on how you're going to perform the count. See, counting is not difficult, but realizing how you're going to carry out the count, the moment you look at a counting problem, you know, your mind would scan through various ways you could have done that count, and from amongst those various ways you will have to choose the best way, the most optimum way, right? That is where, you know, your experience with problem solving and exposure to problem solving counts, because then you are readily able to obtain, okay, what would be the best way to carry out this count. Now what I could do is, say, subsets could be created with A1 as the first element. Subsets could be created as A2 as the second element. Subsets could be created with A3 as the first element, and so on and so forth. Yes or no? Say, subsets with A1 as the first element. First element. That means A1 is certainly there, and that's the first element of the subset I'm creating, right? Now, in that subset, the rest of the elements would have to be chosen from A2, A3, A4, A11, A12. Yes or no? If A1 is the first element of that subset, then the rest of the elements must be necessarily chosen from this set only. Yes or no? Because then see, in this case 2 is a multiple of 1, 3 is also a multiple of 1, 4 is also a multiple. Not an issue, right? So it's like, now when I have to select to create a subset from this set, if I have to choose elements, I will go to element and seek a choice or lack of it, right? So I go to A2 to create my subset. I go to A2 and ask, hey, what are the two things I can do with you? He says, either select me or don't select me, right? So there are two things that you could do with A2. There are two things that you could do with A3. There are two things you could do with A4. There are two things you could do with A11. There are two things you could do with A12. Yes or no? So that is not, no. 2 to the power 11 only, because I may not choose even one element from here. That would be a subset with just A1, which is an acceptable subset, right? So just 2 to the power 11. Yes or no? So number of subsets with A1 with the first as the first element is 2 to the power 11. Right now? Now, subsets with A2 as the first element. Defining the blueprint therefore becomes important. Realize that. So if A2 is the first element, then the subset could have been formed only out of the following elements: A4, A6, A8, A10, A12. Yes or no? So in constituting a subset. I'll either select A4 or not select A4. I'll either select A6 or not select A6. Select or not select, select or not select, select or not select. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 to the power 5. Right? With A2 as the first element. Right, Aritra? With A3 as the first element, my subset would have to be selected from A6, A9, A12. Yes or no? That's it. A6, two ways of dealing with A6. Two ways of dealing with A6, two ways of dealing with A9, and two ways of dealing with A12. So that makes it 2 cubed with A3 as the first element, right? With A4 as the first element, hey, then the rest of the elements would have to be sought from A8, A12. That's all, isn't it? So two ways of dealing with this and two ways of dealing with this. 2 square, right? So this makes it 2 squared. This is the count, this is the count, this is the count, this is the count. Just 2. Then A5 is the first element. Then the rest could be, well, A10 and that's all. That's all. Right? That means with A5 as the first element, what are the things I could do with this? Select or not select. So there are only two ways of dealing with A10. So two ways of dealing with A10. Right? Similarly, A6. The only possibility is A12. Two ways. Yes or no? Now, if A7 is my first element, that's it. It will not have any other pair. If A8 is the first element, 1, just 1. 1 for this, 1 for this. If A9, 1. If A10, 1. If A11, 1. And A12, 1. So that makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 more subsets with just one element, right? A7, A8. Starting with A7, there will only be one subset. Starting with A8, there will be only one subset, A9, etc. So this count adds up to 6. We've used it up completely. So then the total count is going to be 2 to the power 11 plus 2 to the power 5 plus 2 cubed plus 2 squared plus 2 plus 2 plus 6. Whatever this turns out. How much does it turn out to be? Huh? 2102? Okay. So this turns out to be 2102. 2102 is what this count turns out to be. Before I move on to the next problem, I just want to emphasize a concept. See, if I have, say, x1 plus x2 equal to 20. Say if I have x1 plus x2 equal to 20. And xi's are whole numbers. Xi's are whole numbers. And I want to find the number of whole number solutions to this. One way I have already taught. But I want you to understand another way. I'll take a simple case and then I'll just make it a little more involved, right? x1 plus x2 equal to 20 and I want to find the number of whole number solutions to this equation. So, essentially then, look, in this case, an xi is a whole number, so could start with 0 and obviously cannot exceed 20, right? So each of these xi's will lie between 0 and 20. They can assume values like 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 20. Right? Now, let me create an expression in x. Let me think of a dummy variable x. I'm only complicating a simple problem because I want to highlight a concept, right? So this is a simple problem otherwise, but there is something that I want to get you inducted into. Let me think of a dummy variable x whose power would represent the values assumed by x1 and x2. Say, so dummy variable x whose power represents the values x1 and x2 could take. So, say for x1, I define an expression. For x1, I define an expression 1, which is like x power 0, which means x1 is 0 plus x. The power is 1, that means x1 is 1 here. Please try and understand this. X square, that means x1 is 2. X to power 20, that means x1 is 20. Yes or no? All that I'm saying is I'm creating an expression in x whose various powers represent the various values these xi's could take. That's all. Similarly for x2, I define a polynomial. Same kind, 1 plus x squared plus x to power 20. The powers represent the various values x2 could take. Yes or no? Now, I think of a product like this. 1 plus x squared plus x to power 20. 1 plus x squared plus x to power 20. Where this is about x1 and this is about x2. When I multiply these, say the kind of terms I could have got, for example, I could have got, for example, x into x, x square kind of a term. When I multiply this into this, it means x1 and x2 add up to 2. Right? So essentially, there are number of x square terms that will appear when I multiply this. That will give me the number of ways. The number of times x square will appear when I multiply the whole thing will give me the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 2. Yes or no? So there would be a certain number of ways in which x square will appear. And the number of ways in which x square will appear is really like the coefficient of x squared, c into x squared, right? C is the number of ways in which x square appears. That will be the coefficient of x square in this multiplication. See, when I multiply this out, say x square appears in a certain number of ways. X square appears in a certain number of ways. X square by multiplying this with this, x square with 1, 1 with x square, and so on and so forth, right? Certain number of ways in which x square will appear. Now, every time x square appears, it means what? The power here, for example, x1 plus x2, that is added up to 2. That's one way. The two variables x1 and x2 could add up to 2. Then there is x square into 1. That means when x1 is 2 and x2 is 0. That's another way x1 and x2 add up to 2. Right? So there are a number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 2. Right? And so the coefficient of x square in this multiplication will give me the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 2. Yes or no? Confused kya? Nahi na? So if I have something like x cubed featuring with a coefficient C1, then this C1 is the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 3. If I have x to power 10 in this multiplication, featuring with a coefficient say C10, then C10 is the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 10, where x1 and x2 are whole numbers, because see, x1 and x2 are sourcing their values from these powers, so they are essentially whole numbers only. Yes or no? Right? And I could have said the following. I could have said, all right, this time I want x1 and x2 add up to 20. Now there are various ways in which x1 and x2 could add up to 20. So in this multiplication, I would seek the coefficient of x power 20 every time x power 20 appears. It's like I have taken some power of x here and I have taken some power of x here. That means x1 and x2 have added up to 20. That means the coefficient of x power 20 will give me the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 20. C20 is the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 20, right? On multiplying this out, eventually there will be x power 20 featuring with a certain coefficient. That's the number of ways in which this C20 would be the number of ways in which x1 and x2 add up to 20. And this C20 would be the number of whole number solutions to this equation. This C20 would be the number of whole number solutions to this equation. That means coefficient of x power 20 would be the number of whole number solutions to this equation. Yes or no? Now, see how, now it's another story how to find this more efficiently, how to find the coefficient of x power 20 in this multiplication effectively. That's another issue. Don't bother about that right now. But if you find coefficient of x power 20 here, that will give you the number of ways in which x1 and x2 whole numbers could add up to 20. Number of whole number solutions to this equation would be obtained by C20, coefficient of x power 20. Yeah or no? Now, see, somebody could have said that x1 will take values only like 2, 3, 5. I want to find number of whole number solutions to this equation, but again with another condition. x1 will take values like 2, 3, 5 and x2 will take values like say 5, 10, 12, or say, let me make it simple, 5, 10, 15, 20. These are the values that x2 could take. These are the values that x2 could assume, right? And now with this additional constraint, I want to find the number of whole number solutions to this equation. So it's about just constructing your polynomial effectively. The powers of the polynomials for x1 would be 2, 3 and 5, right? So for x1, I'll construct a polynomial which is x squared plus x cubed plus x power 5, so that in any solution, x1 cannot go and assume values other than 2, 3, 5. And then for x2, I construct a polynomial like x power 5 plus x power 10 plus x power 15 plus x power 20. Yes or no? This is what I do. And I want the powers to add up to 20. Given that x1 will take only these values and x2 will take these powers. You know what I'm saying? Right? So which means now I look at x square plus x cube plus x power 5 into x power 5 plus x power 10 plus x power 15 plus x power 20. Now what am I interested in? I am interested in only those terms that feature x power 20, because in those terms the powers of x1 and x2 had added up to 20, right? So what I am interested in is x power 20 and its coefficient. The coefficient of x power 20 would be the number of, when I multiply this out, x power 20 will come with a certain coefficient, will appear in a certain number of ways, which is the coefficient of x power 20. Then the coefficient of x power 20 here would be the number of whole number solutions to this equation, given that x1 is allowed only these values and x2 is allowed only these values. Yes or no? So I will only look at in this fresh multiplication, which restricts my x1 to take only these values and x2 to assume only these values. You've just entered, so you will have to wait for a while. You know, I've spent around 15 minutes. So just watch this again. So the powers should add up to the right hand side. The powers should add up to the right hand side. A polynomial using a dummy variable would have to be constructed, and the various powers of x in that polynomial will represent the various values x1 can take. The other polynomial, the various powers will represent the various values x2 could take, and so on and so forth. Yes or no? Right now? Now, yes, please. Clear now? No, that will not work. So if I had, say, x1 plus x2 plus x3 adding up to, say, 20, where xi's are whole numbers, then for x1 I'll construct a polynomial 1 plus x squared plus etc. up to x power 20. For x2 I'll construct this. For x3 also I'll construct this. That means I'm seeking the coefficient of x power 20 in this multiplication. I'm seeking the coefficient of x power 20 because every time an x power 20 comes, this 20 takes some value of x1 from some power of x here, takes some value, some power of x which will represent x2 here, and some power of x which will represent, that means x power 20 can be obtained only out of x1, x2, x3 that constitute solutions to this equation. Yes or no? Right? So the number of ways in which x power 20 will appear in this will be the number of whole number solutions to this equation, and will also be the coefficient of x power 20. Coefficient of x power 20 will give me the number of whole, yes, number of ways in which x1, x2, x3 could add up to 20. Being whole numbers. Yes or no? Clear now? So there are 25 identical things, and I want them distributed amongst 5 people, and I want each person to get an odd number of things. I want each person to get an odd number of things. So essentially, you know, let's say the first person gets x1, the second person gets x2 things, third x3, fourth x4, fifth x5, and this must add up to 25. Right now, if there was no constraint, if there was just a whole number solution that I was seeking, then this would be n plus r minus 1, c r minus 1. 25 plus 5 minus 1, c 5 minus 1 will give me the number of whole number solutions. But that's not what I'm seeking. I'm seeking solutions in which these are whole numbers. I mean, xi's could be 1, 3, 5, etc. Odd, right? So now, an xi then can be like a 2 lambda I plus 1, where lambda I could have been 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Lambda i's are whole numbers. Lambda i's are whole numbers, right? So then, we are seeking number of whole number solutions to summation xi equal to 25. That means summation xi means summation 2 lambda I plus 1 added 5 times. We are seeking lambda i's are whole numbers now, right? We transform from this to this. Each x1 is 2 lambda 1 plus 1, x2 is 2 lambda 2 plus 1, and so on and so forth. Summation 2 lambda I plus 1, I equal to 1 to 5 Must add up to 25. This one adds up to 5. So this gives me like a twice summation lambda I. And this 5 goes there is 20. Where lambda is our whole numbers, 5 whole numbers, right? So essentially I am seeking number of whole number solutions to summation lambda I equal to 10. Yes or no? Where lambda is are 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And 5, right? So in this case R is 5, N is 10. Number of whole number solutions to an equation. Lambda 1 plus lambda 2 plus lambda 3 plus lambda 4 plus lambda 5 is 10n. And the number of whole number solutions to this equation is going to be n plus R minus 1 C R minus 1, which is like 15 minus 1, 14, C 4 would be the number of whole number of solutions to this equation, where xi's are all odd numbers. No, see, I've told you this result, na, method of partitions. Number of whole number solutions to this equation is n plus R minus 1 C R minus 1. So in this case, n is 10. And R is the number of variables, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda 4, lambda 5, 5 variables. So n plus R minus 1 C, R minus 1 will give me the number of whole number solutions to this equation, right? That's the first part of the problem, right? Which was only a slight modification of the method of partitions that we already learned, isn't it? You recall the method of partitions now? Very good. The next part of the problem, if you allow me, where each person gets at least 1 but not more than 9, isn't it? Not more than 11. So the next part of the problem is, I don't want any xi to go beyond 1 and 11. Must be greater than or equal to 1 but less than or equal to 11, isn't it? Each person gets at least 1, so any xi will at least be 1 but not exceed 11. So xi's will take values like 1, 2, 3 up to 11. These are the values that xi's could assume. Clear now? Now, can I wipe this off? So, now my xi's will take values from this set. 1, 2, 3, 11. These are the values that all the xi's will assume. Given this, I want to find the number of solutions to this equation, given that xi's belong to this group. Clear? So then for each xi, I construct a polynomial whose powers represent the authentic values that xi can take. So for x1, I create like x plus x squared plus x cubed plus x power 11 is what I create for x1. These powers represent the values that x1 can take. Similarly, the same thing I do for x2. x2 will have the same thing, isn't it? X plus x squared, because x2 can also assume only these values. Similarly for x3, similarly for x4, similarly for x5, same. Yes or no? But eventually when I multiply it out, then I'm interested in a term which is like x power 25. And the coefficient of x power 25 is what I'm seeking, right? I'm seeking coefficient of x power 25 in this multiplication. That will give me the number of solutions to this equation given this constraint. The constraint, where is this constraint built in? The powers. For x1, the powers 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. These are the powers that represent various values of x1, various values of x2, various values of x3, etc. But then on multiplication, what term am I keen on finding? One which gives me like a x power 25, because that x power 25 would have been obtained by a certain power of x here, which would be x1, and a certain power of x here, which would be x2. That means that x power 25 gives, every time you get a x power 25, that will be one solution to that equation. And the number of times you get x power 25 will give me the number of solutions to that equation given this constraint, because that constraint is built into the fact in the manner in which we have built the polynomials that represent, right? So essentially we are seeking coefficient of x power 25 in this product of 5, right? So which is like x plus x squared plus whole to power 5. We are seeking coefficient of x power 25 here, right? Yes or no? If I take x common from this, when it comes out, it will become x power 5. 1 plus x squared plus x power 10, and this becomes x power 5. So in this, I'm seeking coefficient of x power 25 in this, of which x power 5 already appears here. That means in this, I want to see coefficient of x power 20. Because, isn't it? So effectively, I'm seeking coefficient of x power 20 in this. So I'm seeking coefficient of x power 20 in 1 plus x squared plus x power 10 whole to power 5. I'm seeking coefficient of x power 20 in this. Yes or no? Rushil? Which is like, this is a GP series, right? This is a GP series of 11 terms, right? This is like 1 minus r to power n by 1 minus r, right? R is x here, so 1 minus x to power 11 whole to power 5, 1 minus x whole to power minus 5. Do you realize why so? Because this GP series is 1 minus x power 11 by 1 minus x, and that whole to power 5 is this. So I'm seeking in this coefficient of x power 20. Pakka to? No, what, you didn't understand how I added this GP series? How do you add a GP series? 1 minus r to power number of terms by 1 minus r. 1 plus x squared plus x power 10 is what? 1 minus x power 11 by 1 minus x. And the whole to power 5 means this will be 1 minus x to power minus 5. Yes or no? Hey, now one thing that I want to tell you is, and you might want to remember this fact, establish this. In general, you know, see this I know how to expand binomially, right? I know the 6 terms that will feature in this. I want to know how to expand 1 minus x to power minus n, where n is a natural number. This is 1 minus x to power minus n. Let me tell you how to expand this. 1 minus x to power minus n. Okay. This is like same way, 1 plus 1 minus nx. So what I do is 1 plus minus n into minus x plus minus n into minus n minus 1 by 2 factorial into minus x squared plus minus n into minus n, raw form, right? 3 factorial into whole cubed, and so on and so forth. 1 plus x power t is 1 plus tx plus t into t minus 1 by 2 factorial into t squared into x squared plus t into t minus 1 into t minus 2 by 3 factorial into x cubed, and so on. Instead of x you have minus x here, right? This is generalized binomial theorem. This is generalized binomial theorem, right? And realize that this is going to be 1 plus, this is NC1. This is NC1. N is NC1 x. Check this out independently and see if I'm cheating you or not. This is n plus 1 C2 into x squared. This would be n plus 2 C3 into x cubed. See, I take minus common and that will take care of the minus here. N plus, this would be n plus 2 C3. This is n plus 2 C3, n plus 3 C4, x power 4 and so on and so forth. This will be the expansion of this. 1 minus x power minus n, 1 minus x power minus n. Henceforth, you might want to remember n is a natural number. 1 minus x power minus n is going to be 1 plus nc1x plus n plus 1 c2x squared plus n plus 2 c3x cubed and so on and so forth. This is how it's going to happen. These are increasing by 1 and these are also increasing by 1. This is the expansion of 1 minus x power minus n, where n is a natural number. Right? Keep a tab on this. Keep a tab on this. Right? The powers add up. Yes, yes. Precise. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Precisely the case. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So, henceforth, remember this. Use this as a ready reckoner in the class. 1 minus x to power minus n. Okay. Now, hey, essentially then, what does the problem boil down to? The problem boils down to finding coefficient of x power 20 in this. Finding coefficient of x power 20 in this. And this is okay to expand. This is not an issue. This is 1 minus x to power minus n and I can expand based on this, right? So, I am seeking coefficient of x power 20 in. This would be like 1 minus 5 x power 11. Now, why I don't want to write terms after this? They will not contribute to x power 20 here, because terms after this would be like x power 22, x power 33, isn't it? Higher and higher powers of x power 11. They will not contribute to x power 20 in this multiplication, isn't it? So I don't even bother to, recognize these terms. I am only interested in the two terms in this expansion. 1 minus 5 x power 11, because after this, what would be my next term? 5c2 x power 22. Now that will not participate in your creation of x power 20. So I dump that. Jitna zarurat hai utna rakho. Hai na? Ye hata. Then the next one, 1 minus x power minus 5. 1 minus x power minus 5. I expand based on this. N is minus 5, right? So what would this be? This would be 1 plus 5c1x 6c2. See, this is also increasing by 1. This is also increasing by 1. You know, x squared 6c3 x cubed. I'm sorry, 7c3 x cubed. There would be a term like 20 c, say 4 less 16 x power 20 kind of a thing will appear here, right? See, this difference is 4 and these powers are going hand in glove with this. 2, 2, 3, 3. So when there is 20 here, sorry, this will be 20 and this will be 24. This will be 24. Right? There will be a x power 20 kind of a term that will appear in this, right? So that x power 20, this 20 will feature here and this will be 4 more than this, as you see the trend. This is 4 more than this is 4 more than this. The power of x here appears here, right? And so on and so forth. Yes or no? Clear now? Now, so essentially then coefficient of x power 20. Coefficient of x power 20 can be obtained when I multiply this with this, which will give me like a 24 c20. Then x power 11 would have to be multiplied with x power 9 to get x power 20. Now, where would a x power 9 feature here? X power 9 will be like c9 and this will be 13 c9. That will be 13 c9 into minus 5. Right? See, in this, the x power 9 term would be like 13c9. Do you realize that this is going together and this is 4 more than this, right? So 13c9 x power 9 So when multiplied with this will give me x power 20. So the coefficient of x power 20 obtained from this would be minus 5 into 13c9. So minus 5 into 13c9. Minus 5 into 13c9. This will be the coefficient of x power 20 in this. Yes or no? And that will give me the number of solutions to this equation, given that the variables take values like 1 to 11 only, right? Do you understand the idea? Now, you know, you'll have a lot of flexibility to play around with this.
So based on the expansion, you can actually observe the general trend to the last term from years.
Right. Sounds all right? These n people, and the total distribution made to them is a multiple of 4, and each person gets less than or equal to 4n minus 1 things. The total number of things a person could get would be not more than 4n minus 1. It could be 0, 1, 2 up to 4 minus 1. These are the acceptable number of things any person could get. The question is, in how many ways could we carry this out? The question is, given that there are n people, in how many ways could we carry this out? Right. 4 lambda. Total number of things are 4 lambda. Lambda could vary, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? It's a multiple of 4. So nothing, why not? 0 things distributed to n people, nobody gets anything. Kach kola. Right? Why not? Why? So now what I do is I construct polynomials for P1, P2, P3, all of them. So same kind of a polynomial, because they will assume values like 0, 1, 2 up to 4n minus 1. So the polynomial for P1 would be x power 0, x power 0, which is 1 plus x squared plus x power 4n minus 1, right? For P2 also this, for P3 also this, so to power n, right, to the power n. And what is it that I am seeking here? Coefficient of x power 4 lambda, coefficient of x power 4 lambda. So I am seeking coefficient of x power 4 lambda in this, pretty much. Right? This is what I'm seeking. Now, look, this polynomial 1 plus x squared plus x cubed plus x power 4n minus 1 whole to power n is like, hey, realize that highest power of x here would be 4n minus 1 into n. That will be the highest power of x, right? So eventually, look at it in a more simpler manner. Eventually terms would be like a0 would be a term which would be coefficient of x power 0 in this expansion, right? Then there would be a1 which is like coefficient of x power 1. Then there is going to be like a2 which is coefficient of x squared, a3 which is coefficient of x cubed, 4, and then a n into 4n minus 1 which is the coefficient of x power n into 4n minus 1. See, the highest power of x would be this into this. That's the highest, right? This is what? Yes or no? Now, coefficient of x power 4 is a4. Coefficient of x power 8. See, 4 things distributed in a4 ways. 8 things distributed in a8 ways. Yes or no? Coefficient of x power 4 means what? Number of ways in which 4 things would have been distributed. That would be a4. There would be a term like a8, x power 8. Right? This a8 would represent what? Number of ways in which 8 things would get distributed. A12 would mean what? Number of ways in which 12 things would have gotten distributed. A12. See, if I had a term like A12 x part 12, then A12 would represent what? Number of ways in which 12 things would get distributed. Or it through. What am I trying to find here? I am trying to find coefficient. No, I am trying to find now coefficients A0 plus A4 plus A8 plus A12. This is the value that I am seeking. Do you understand? This will give me number of ways in which 4 things are distributed, 8 things are distributed, 12 things are distributed, and I need all of them because lambda can assume values like 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Yes or no? So I'm seeking the sum A0 plus A4 plus A8 plus A12, etc. Yes or no? है ना? पक्का क्या? Okay. So now I have this, and I want to find A0 plus A4 plus A8 plus A12 plus. And is it an equation or an identity? It's an identity. It's an identity. Let me find out this sum. So this sum will be my solution. This sum would be the solution to the problem. Pakka na? Okay. Let me plug in x equal to 1 on both sides. This will be 4n because these are 4n terms, isn't it? So this will be 4n, isn't it? So if I plug in x equal to 1, 4n to power n equals a0 plus a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4 plus a5 plus up to an 4n minus 1. Yes or no? On plugging in x equal to 1. Plug in x equal to minus 1. Now, in pairs, there are an even number of terms here, isn't it? 4n terms. In pairs, they will get cancelled. So left hand side will be 0. See, if I plug in x equal to minus 1, this plus this will be 0, this plus this will be 0, and it's completely pairable because there are even number of terms. How many terms are there? 4n terms here. So if I plug in x equal to minus 1, left hand side would be 0. Right hand side is going to be a0 minus a1 plus a2 minus a3 plus a4. Not yet solved. Take x equal to I, you know. Now, one interesting thing about I is, if you take, say, 4 consecutive powers of I power 0, I power 1, I squared, and I cube, they will add up to 0 always. Take 4 consecutive powers of I, they will always add up to 0. Yes or no? If you take any 4 consecutive powers of I, they will add up to 0. Do you see that? So if I plug in x equal to I on both sides, see, again, these, I can group them in 4s because they are 4n numbers. They are 4n numbers. So I can take the first 4, then the next 4, and the next 4, and they will add up to 0, isn't it? The first 4 will add up to 0, 4 consecutive powers of I. The next 4 will add up to 0, consecutive powers of I. And we have them exactly grouped in 4s because the total number of terms are 4n. So there are n groups of 4 terms each. N groups of 4 terms each, right? So if I... Konta? Arey Baba, don't bother about this trivia. Yes, obviously A4. So if I plug in x equal to I, this will add up to 0, right? And the right hand side is A0 plus A1I minus A2, right? Minus A2, and then this would be minus I, and then plus A4 plus A5I and so on and so forth. Yes or no? Now also there is a problem. See, the problem is I want this a1i to get cancelled with the minus a1i, and I want this there is a minus a2 plus a2. This a2 minus a2 would get cancelled. I need another a2 here. I take x equal to minus I one more time. I take x equal to minus I, and again 4 consecutive powers of minus I will also add up to 0. So left hand side will still be 0. And then I have like a naught minus a1i plus a2 plus a3i plus a4, I to power 4 minus I to power 4 would be 1, right? Minus a5i and so on and so forth. Yes or no? See, if I take 4 consecutive powers of I, they add up to 0, isn't it? Huh? No, but the number of terms are 4n only. This is I to power 0, isn't it? This is 4n minus 1 plus 1 term, 4n terms. Right now? Do you understand everything that I have done here? Now, perform the last rites on this. Add all of this, 4n to power n, and see, we were interested only in a0 plus a4 plus a8. These were the only terms of interest to us. And do you see everything else has got cancelled? This has got cancelled. This has got cancelled. This has got cancelled. A4. So the right hand side is like 4 times a0 plus a4 plus a8 plus and so on and so forth. This is the sum that we are interested in, right? And this sum a0 plus a4 plus a8 etc. is 4n to power n is 4n to power n divided by 4. This is 4n to power n divided by 4. Right. In fact, you know, yes. See, I'll tell you something. When it is about groups of 4, differences of 4, then x equal to I will work. When it is about differences of 3, omega will work. When it is about grouping 3, 1 plus omega squared is 0. 3 consecutive powers of omega will add up to 0. 4 consecutive powers of I will add up to 0. That's the premise for this. So, you know, we want to find integers x and y, natural numbers x and y that satisfy this equation. 1 by x plus 1 by y equal to 1 by n. N is a natural number greater than 1. And the number of such ordered pairs x comma y is meant to represent Sn. I want to find Sn. I want to find Sn in general for this, right? Now, look, 1 by x plus 1 by y equal to 1 by n is like n into x plus y equal to xy. Yes or no? Or xy minus n into x plus y is 0. Right? Let me add n squared to both sides. Let me add n squared to both sides so that it becomes factorizable. This will then become x minus n into y minus n is n squared. Yes or no? Will it not become this? Right? Hey, y minus n is n squared by x minus n. X and y are natural numbers. That means x minus n must be a divisor of n squared. Yes or no? It means x minus, because this is an integer, right? N squared by this, that means x minus n divides n squared. This symbol means x minus n divides n squared. Yes or no? Similarly, y minus n also divides n squared in exactly the same way, because x minus n can be written as x squared by y minus n. That means x minus n and y minus n are factors of n squared. Because x minus n divides n squared, y minus n divides n squared. It means that x minus n and y minus n are divisors of n squared. For this to be satisfied, yes or no? Are divisors of n squared. Right now? Now, that means every time x minus n into y minus n, x minus n into y minus n, if they are selected as divisors, you get a value of x. See, in fact, if x minus 1 is a certain divisor, fixed, right, then the other divisor automatically is fixed. The other divisor is n square by d, right? So if I select a divisor d, then I know the value of x uniquely, and I also know the value of y uniquely. Yes or no? Every divisor d, which is say x minus n, fixes the other divisor y minus n, which is n squared by d. And x minus n equal to d will give me one value of x, and y minus n equal to n squared by d will give me another value of y. Yes or no? I repeat. See, x minus n and y minus n are divisors of n squared, right? Now, if x minus n is a certain chosen divisor of n squared, n square will have very many divisors. I choose one such divisor, call it d, right? X minus n equal to d will give me the required value of x by choosing a certain divisor d. And once I know d, then I know n square by d. Then that will give me the value of y, because y minus n is n square by d. That means a given d, a given divisor will give me a pair, ordered pair x comma y, which is a solution to that equation. That means, right, every divisor d will give me one required ordered pair, and the number of divisors of n square will give me the required number of ordered pairs. Every divisor d gives me uniquely a value x comma y commensurate with that condition. The number of divisors will give me the number of xy's. Yes or no? Yes. So number of xy's would be what? Number of divisors of what? Of n squared. Number of divisors of n square. So Sn represents what? Sn is number of divisors of n squared. Sn is number of divisors of n squared. Hey, if n is prime, if n is a prime number, then it has only the following divisors, n and n squared. Then the number of divisors of n squared would be 1, n and n squared if n is a prime number. That means 3 divisors. Every time n is prime, Sn will be 3. Every time n is prime, the number of divisors of n squared would be 3. 1, n and n squared. So Sn will be 3 if n is prime. Sn will be 3 if n is prime. Yes or no? Sn will be 3 if n is prime, right? If n is not prime, so they have asked for another value S6. S6 would mean what? Number of divisors of 36. Of 6 squared. And number of divisors of 6 squared means 2 squared into 3 squared. Number of divisors of 2 squared into 3 squared. And how do you find the number of divisors of this? 2 plus 1 into 3, 2 plus 1. That will give me the number of divisors, which is 9. Number of divisors of 6 squared is number of divisors of this, which is 2 plus 1 into 2 plus 1, which is 9 divisors. Yes or no? So S6 would be 9. Sn would be 3 if n is prime. Because if n is prime, then the number of divisors of n squared would be only 1 n and n squared would only be 1 n and n squared. Sounds good? Right then, your attention please. So, greatest number of parts, regions, into which a plane could be divided by n distinct straight lines. Of course, you know, we don't want any 3 lines to be concurrent, because that will decrease the number of regions. And we don't want lines to be parallel, because that is also liable to decrease the regions. So, we don't want lines to be parallel, we don't want any 3 lines to be concurrent. Right? That will cause the number of regions to be the largest they could be. Right? Now, one simple observation. Suppose there were k lines. These were k lines, line 1, L1, L2, L3, Lk. Suppose there were k lines. Suppose there were k lines. They create a certain number of regions. They create a certain number of regions. Now, in a very general sense, if I add another line, not parallel to any one of them, if I add another line, say Lk plus 1, then, see, Sk were the number of regions, we do not know. When there were k straight lines, Sk were the number of regions with k lines. Sk were the number of regions with k lines. Now, if I add another line, see, these were the regions essentially, right? When k lines were there. Now, what is the increase in the number of regions? See, this is the increase. This region has got added. 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 This region has got. That's the increase in the number of regions. Wherever I have shown you the ticks are the increase in the number of regions. If one line was added to k lines. There were k lines and this was the k plus 1th line. Do you realize? Then the number of regions increase was 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. These were the regions. Now, how many regions? See, from here to here, one region, above L2, another region, right? Second, right? Above L3, 3 regions, above L4, 4 regions, above Lk, k regions, and then one more region here, k plus 1 regions. K plus 1 regions have got added. Do you all understand that? That means, if Sk were the number of regions for k lines, then Sk plus 1, which is the number of regions for one more line would be the number of regions for Sk plus k plus 1. K plus 1 were the number of regions that got added. Sk were the number of regions when there were k lines. But when I added another line, then how many additional regions were produced? This, which is k plus 1 regions were produced, additional regions were produced. K plus 1 additional regions were produced, yes or no? That means Sk plus 1 was k plus 1 more than Sk, was k plus 1 more than Sk. Do you understand this? Huh? Good. Now, if I had one line, how many regions were there? 2 regions. If there were 2 lines, then 2 regions will get added up, right? With S2, with Sk plus 1, k plus 1 regions got added. With S2, 2 more regions got added. That means 2 that were originally there and 2 more got added, right? With S3, whatever you get for S2, which is 4, and 3 more regions got added up. See, Sk plus 1 is Sk. S3 would be S2 plus 3 from this relationship. नहीं समझ में आया क्या? S4 would be what? Number of regions with S3 plus 4. What are the number of regions for S3? 7 plus 4. Yes or no? Similarly, what would be S5? S5 would be number of regions for 4 plus 5. What is the number of regions for 4? 11 plus 5. Yes or no? And so on and so forth. That's the trend that you see. Right now? So, when I had one line, there were 2 regions. When I had one line, there were 2 regions. When I added another line, the number of the increase was 2 regions. The increase was 2 regions. See, when I had one line, the number of regions were 2. And when I added another line, then there was an increase by an amount 2. For 2 lines, this was the region. Now, then 2 lines, this was the region. When I add the third line, the increase would be 3. When I add the fourth line, the increase would be 4. When I add the fifth line, the increase would be 5. When I add the nth line, the increase would be n. So that was 2 and these were the consecutive increase. So this would be the total number of regions produced. Yes or no? So this is like 1 plus sum of first n natural numbers, which is n into n plus 1 by 2, which is the required number of greatest regions that could be produced by n distinct straight lines. Right now? Karajeto. Yes, absolutely. Certainly yes. The 11th problem is about 10 real numbers given to you. 10 real numbers given to you, each greater than 1 but less than 55. Each greater than 1 but less than 55. You want to show that there are 3 numbers amongst them. There are 3 numbers amongst them which will constitute the sides of a triangle. In fact, let me make life a little simpler for you. You want to show that there are 3 consecutive numbers here such that they can constitute the sides of a triangle. Let us assume that no 3 consecutive numbers here can create the sides of a triangle and see if we arrive at a contradiction. You know what we assume? No 3 numbers will constitute the sides of a triangle here. Right? Now, very clearly A1 is greater than 1. A2 is also greater than 1. Now, in fact, what we could have done is we could have arranged them in a certain order also, but even then it will not make a difference. So, one thing, can I say A1 plus A2 and A3, they don't constitute sides of a triangle. Say A1, A2, A3 don't constitute sides of a triangle. So, A1 plus A2 must be less than or equal to A3. Because I am assuming they will not constitute sides of a triangle. I am assuming the contrary to what, right? But A1 is greater than 1, A2 is greater than 1. So A1 plus A2 must be greater than 2. Yes or no? Right? Now, A2 plus A3. Hey, A3 is greater than 2. A3 is greater than 2 as you see from here, and A2 is greater than 1. So this will be greater than 3 because this is greater than 2 and this is greater than 1. Right? A3 turns out to be greater than 2 and A2 greater than 1. So this is greater than 3. And A2, A3, A4 also don't constitute sides of a triangle. Right? Now, A3 plus A4 less than or equal to A5. Again, I am assuming they don't. Now, A3 greater than 2, A4 greater than 3. So this is greater than 5. Yes or no? Because A3 is greater than 2, A4 is greater than 3. So this. Similarly, A4 plus A5, I am assuming is less than A6. A4 greater than 3, A5 greater than 5. So this is greater than 8. Similarly, A5 plus A6 less than or equal to A7 greater than 13. Yes or no? A6 plus A7 less than or equal to A8. This is greater than 21, exactly that way. And A7 plus A8 less than or equal to A9. This is greater than similarly 34. And A8 plus A9 less than or equal to A10, which then will be greater than 55, as you see the trend. A10 then turns out to be greater than 55. But none of the numbers should be greater than 55. So A10 turns out to be greater than 55, which cannot happen. So it leads to a contradiction. Therefore, not all these should be true. At least one, the inequality should be in a different direction. And for at least one triplet, there should be a triangle constituted. Yes or no? Squares will exist in that sequence. It's a sequence of infinite terms. It's a sequence of infinite terms, and one term is found to be a perfect square. Now, of course, the common difference of the sequence will also be an integer. The common difference of the sequence will also be an integer. Now, say I can start looking at the sequence from the first term, which is a perfect square, a square. Let me start looking at the sequence from the term from where it becomes a perfect square. Call that the first term. How does it matter? Right? Then the term after this would be a squared plus r. R is the common difference. A square plus 2r. A square plus 3r. Where, see, there is like 1, 2, 3. All integers are appearing here. So in this sequence, would you mind getting something like so I can produce something here to so that I could make this a perfect square. What could I produce here to make it a perfect square? 2a plus r. See in this sequence of numbers 1, 2, 3, 2a plus r will also feature. So a number of this kind will also appear here. And this is like a plus r whole squared, which is another perfect square. So if there is one perfect square, there would be another perfect square, and then there would be another perfect square. And the number of perfect squares was going to be infinite. Do you understand that? Given one perfect square, I build up the sequence. 1, 2, 3, and this in this sequence of numbers 1, 2, 3, there is a 2a plus r also. So 2a plus r into r will also be a number featuring in the sequence, which is like a plus r whole square. So another square. So following every square, there would be another perfect square. So the number of perfect squares would be infinite. So in this problem, there are n children arranged in a row, and there is an initial arrangement which is the part of the count, right? Which is part of the count. Now, any other arrangement would be acceptable where, C1 in any other arrangement can only occupy either this state or this state. C2 in any other arrangement can be only one unit displaced from its original state. Could either have been here or could have been here. Cn, in addition to being here, the only other place it could have been is this place where Cn minus 1 was. So any other arrangement would be considered sanguine where, referred to an original arrangement, no child is found to have got displaced by more than one unit from his original state. Right? Now, how we could carry out a count is, so the total count supposes an of arranging these children in n seats, including the original one. The total count is an. If there were n children, let's say an was the total count. An was the total count, right? Where children could have got displaced only by one unit with respect to their original positions. Now, in this count, there were situations in which C1 was in its original state, and situations in which C1 was not in its original state, isn't it? Right? These are the only two possibilities, right? So what were the two possibilities? C1 in its original place and C1 not in its original place. Any other, right? Any arrangement you take, either you find C1 to be here or 1 unit displaced. Yes or no? These are the only two possibilities. And the total number of count for this and the total number of count for this will add up to an, the count that we are seeking. Right? Now, if an represents in general an expression in n for the total count for n children, then an minus 1 would represent what? The same kind of a count for n minus 1 children? The same kind of a count for n minus 1 children? If n represents the count such a calculation for n children, then a minus 1 will represent the same kind of a count for n minus 1 children, for n minus 1 children. Yes or no? Now, when C1 was in its place, right? How many children were remaining? And then what would have been the count for these children? An minus 1. Yes or no? With C1 in place, the total count would have been An minus 1. You know? So the count for this would have been An minus 1. Right? Now, with C1 not in its place, that means C1 going there and C2 coming here. Right? That means with C1 and C2 not in their place, how many children are remaining? N minus 2. And then the count for such children would be An minus 2. The count for such children would be An minus 2. So this count would be An minus 2. That means An must add up to An minus 1 plus An minus 2, like the Fibonacci sequence. Yes or no? An therefore would be like An minus 1 plus An minus 2. What am I seeking? A10, right? There are 10 children. I am seeking the value of A10. I am seeking the value of A10. Hey, if there was just one child, A1 would have been 1. In this entire arrangement, there was just one child, then A1 is 1. If there were two children, then there were two configurations. Now, we have this. A3, therefore, from this rule, would be A2 plus A1? 3. A4 from this rule would be A3 plus A2? 5. A5 would be 8, A4 plus A3. A6 would be 13. A7 would be 21. A8 would be 34. A9 55. A10 89. Yes or no? No? See, when C1 is in its original place, An minus 1. When C1 is not in its original place, that means C1 goes here and C2 comes here. Right? Those counts, that means C2 here and C1 here. Then you are not doing anything. Then you have brought C2 to this place and you have brought C1 to this place. Right? Now with this in place, then how many children you can play around with? N minus 2 children. Right? In how many ways? An minus 2 ways. Yes or no? Got me? I can partition a number 3 as follows. There is 3. I could write 3 as 3, or I could have written this as 2 plus 1, or I could have written this as 1 plus 1 plus 1, or I could have written this as 1 plus 2. This is one mode of writing, yeah. I'm just saying this is one mode of writing. Number 3, I'm just saying. I'm not, obviously, 1 plus 1 plus 1. It's not about that. It's about the manner in which I'm spreading the numbers. Yes. In fact, it's making the problem easier. You'll realize that. Okay. So, 3 could be expressed like this. 3 and then 2 plus 1 and then 1 plus 1 plus 1 and etc. etc. 4 ways it could be expressed like this. So in general, if I have a number n, in how many such ways it could be partitioned? You realize, you know what I'm saying? In how many ways it could be partitioned? These are the various partitions. These are the various partitions of the number, right? Hey, n in general could have been looked upon as 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. How many times? N times. Look at this number 3. What is it that we have done with this? This is 3, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Right? Now to get any one of these, it's like if I choose no plus, then I get that. Or if I choose only this plus, then I get 2 plus 1. Or if I choose only this plus, then I get 1 plus 2. Right? So it's only about the number of ways in which I could choose pluses. It's only about the number of ways in which I could choose pluses. Now, what are the various, and I could have chosen all, and I could have chosen no plus. All possibilities, right? So then, if I want to partition n, then there are two things I could do with this plus, either selected or not selected. There are two ways I can deal with this plus, either select or not select. Two ways dealing with this plus, two ways dealing with this plus. So how many pluses were there? N minus 1 pluses were there. So that makes it 2 to the power n minus 1 partitions could have been created. If I chose no plus, it will be n. It will be n. If I chose no plus, it's going to be n. Yes or no? Right? So for 2 to the power, for 10, it's going to be 2 to the power 9. For 3, it was 2 to the power 3 minus 1, 2 square. For 4, it will be 2 cubed. For n, it's going to be 2 to the power n minus 1. That's the number of parts.